Hey there friends, it's Missy again. Thanks so much for stopping in today. I have a new layout and process video for Pinkfresh Studio, and I'm going to be mixing and matching the three newest collections for this page today. I've got some pieces from Noteworthy, from My Favorite Story, and from Super Cool. And I love that all of these collections are so different and unique, but when you mix and match them together, you can get entirely different looks. And I wanted to use blue. I wanted to try my best to make a monochromatic layout using all different shades of blue. So that's what I'm doing here. I'm just kind of looking through what I have left of these collections. I'm looking through the papers, the cardstock stickers, the puffy stickers, the die cuts, all kinds of things, and just seeing what I have that's blue. And I'm not even sure what pictures I'm going to use yet. I'm going to start fussy cutting out anything that I see in pattern papers, and right away this blue and white camera just sort of jumped out at me. And it's hard for me to do monochromatic because I love using all of the colors. And so I wanted to, set a little challenge for myself to just kind of sort through everything and see what I could find. And there's actually quite a bit of blue in these three collections. And so this was really fun to do. And I like taking bits and pieces from one collection and mixing them with another collection, and those two collections have nothing to do with each other. They're complete opposites. So Super Cool is nothing like My Favorite Story or Noteworthy. And so this was a kind of a fun challenge to do. So I'm just cutting out all the blue things, and I settled on these two pictures. These are from, I think, 2016. My husband and I went to Aruba, and there's quite a bit of blue in these pictures, but there's also a lot of light white. We both have on blue hats, different shades of blue. There's blue water, but then the sky, it was so sunny, the sky looks almost white. And so I feel like the bright areas in the photos will kind of help break up all of the blue things that I'm going to add. And so I'm just kind of playing around with a design idea here. I think I'm going to stack the photos. They look similar, but they're two different photos taken, seconds apart. But I went ahead and printed both of them because I liked both of them. And then I'm just going to start to kind of pretend like this is a puzzle and start to layer things in and play around with certain things. I'm going to fussy cut this tag. I'm going to use half of it underneath the picture. I'm going to wind up fussy cutting the part that says love right there. I'm going to use that. I'd never even thought about using that. I'm going to use the scallops in another spot. So this one tag, I'm using it in three different places, So that's another thing, is you don't always have to use tags, as a tag. If you want to cut it up and use bits and pieces of it all over your page, you can certainly do that. You have to just look at die cuts or things like that in a different way if you're not quite sure how to use it. So pattern papers that I had, and so I just wanted to punch some circles out of it. So that's what I did there, to add a couple of bits of paper around the layout. And then I'm going to use white smooth cardstock as my background, and I'm going to do lots of mixed media on this. And so I'm using clear gesso here to coat the cardstock with, and this is just going to give me a little bit of a protective barrier. It's going to prime the paper for all the liquid that I'm going to add to it. It's going to allow all the colors to kind of spread and blend together very nicely without just drying immediately through the paper. And I'm going to start here with the plastic packaging technique with my favorite color of all the watercolors from Pinkfresh Studio, and that is sky blue. And I'm going to mix it with a little bit of the sapphire because I want a couple different shades of blue on the background. And the packaging technique, if you've never tried it, is so easy and so fun, and you get the coolest results pretty fast. You just add some of the paint to a piece of spare plastic you have from, stickers or something, and then you just flip it over and rub it down and then smooth your hand over the top of it, and the paint just smudges by itself, and you get the coolest shapes and splotches. It looks very abstract and very, very cool. And then I like to do that like I'm doing here, and then I'll use my brush with a little bit more water to kind of blend the edges out so the edges are a little bit softer, like this right here. Sometimes I like the edges crisp, and then sometimes I like them to kind of fade out into the white so they look softer. And, you know, everybody has a different preference. It just depends on the look that you want. And I'm just mixing a couple of the different blue colors here. The sky blue, the sapphire. I mixed in a little bit of black right there because I wanted to add in some pops of more of a navy blue, since there's some of that color in all of those embellishments that I'm going to be using. So I want all the blues here, and this is going to be pretty much visible, you know, around the photos and then in between and around all of the embellishments. And so some of this is going to get covered up. It's just, you know, it's the way it goes when you're making a background. A lot of times I make backgrounds and I love them so much and I don't want to cover them up, but you know, you're making a layout, you're going to add stuff to it. And so inevitably it's going to get covered up in some places. And so whenever I make a background and then I add everything back on top of it, you know, if I feel like you can't really see the mixed media, then I'll just take the stuff off and add some more. And so that's kind of, you know, you kind of have to play around with it. You have to make your background and then take a break, put your stuff on top, see how it looks. And then if you're satisfied with how you can see it, or if you're not, then, you know, remove it and add some more. And so it just, and it also depends, you know, as you're making the layout, things change and you may add more paper or stickers, and, you know, your idea may change as you go. And so it's a constantly evolving page until it's finally done at the end, right? So I'm going to ruffle up the edges of my circles that I punched out. I'm using my little edge distresser there, and this is just going to create some texture and a little bit of dimension. I'm going to do the same thing to that tag, and then I'm going to start to work on backing my photos. I thought about backing my photos with more blue pattern paper, but I felt like I didn't want to crowd the page too much more because I'm already going to have the two photos, and they're about 3x4-ish size, and then all these things around it. I did want the background to show, so I didn't want to make the layers around the photos any thicker. So I just added a little bit of white tissue paper there, and then I'm going to start to attach some things together. I love that little pocket piece that says Super Cool on it. That's from the Super Cool collection. Thought it would look cute with the picture kind of tucked into that. And then I'm going to pop a lot of this up off the page using some adhesive foam. And so that's all I'm doing here is cutting that up. And that's just kids craft foam. You can find that at Walmart or Michael's, or I'm sure online. It's easy to cut any size you want, and it's adhesive on one side, and it's the perfect height, not too thick, but it's very good for this type of dimension. So I'm going to kind of stack the photos one on top of the other just like that, and then just kind of work all of these pieces to the sides, to the top, to the bottom. Okay, so here's where I was talking about. Test it out. Put it on your background. See what it looks like up to this point, because I feel like I have a lot on there, but I felt like I wanted more in a couple spots. So that's what I'm going to do. I'm going to go back to the plastic packaging, add in some more of the sky blue. That's my most used color. I love that color. Blue is my all-time favorite color, and so that tends to be the first color that I always go towards. So I wanted some more of that color up at the top and the bottom. And again, I'm just using water there in my brush to kind of smudge it around. But the packaging technique is what sort of made the initial background shape. All right, so there we go. See how that looks? You can still see it. It's peeking around all the edges. But are we still going to be able to see it when I put all of those other bits and pieces around it? Because I'm going to have embellishments basically from the top to the bottom. And once those embellishments are there, you know, I'll be able to see, do I need to go back and add to the background, or does it look okay as it is? And it's just part of the process. You just have to go with it and see how it looks as you go. I'm just adding some splatters in. I wanted the background to look, you know, splashy since I'm scrapping beach photos. I always love to use lots of blue on beach or pool layouts because, you know, it just reminds me of all the water and blue, so much blue. So I added some splatters there, but I kind of wanted to soften them up. And so see how they're kind of fading out when I'm adding this extra water? That's because of the gesso. The gesso allows that to happen. And I know I've said that 1,000 times, probably more than that, but it really does make a difference in making backgrounds like this with the gesso versus no gesso. All right, so I'm going to kind of rebuild everything, see what we got going here. A lot of this is going to change because I didn't want to cover up too much of the white space in the pictures. I wanted that to kind of remain open because it's going to help break up a lot of the blue, and it's going to help the photos to stand out, because I feel like if I filled up all that white space, it would kind of take away from the pictures, because there's so many little things going all around, all over the page, that, you know, the focus should be on your pictures. And so I wanted the white space to kind of be a breaking spot for that. All right, so I'm just continuing to build. I'm continuing to add some adhesive foam behind the circles. A couple of things I just want to pop off the page. I love doing that. It just creates lots of texture, lots of dimension. It creates some fun shadows, and it just helps the layout sort of come off the page a little bit. And I do get asked a lot, you know, when you put your layouts into albums, don't they get squished down? And yes, they do. That's just the way it is. But I'm okay with that, you know. I mean, if I want it to show someone that it's dimensional, I can take it out of the album and, you know, refluff everything up if need be. So that's not a big deal. If you want to make it dimensional, I say do it. All I'm doing here is adding some white cardstock behind these two pieces from Super Cool, because you can kind of see through them, and I wanted to put some adhesive foam behind there. And since my foam is green, I didn't want the green to kind of change the color of these blue speech bubbles. So that's why I backed it with white and then just cut it out. And I'm definitely going to pop those up off the page. And yeah, just continue to play around with the placement of everything. So before I glue anything down, I'm going to come in with some thread. One of my favorite things to add to a layout for little pops of color, little pops of texture. And I think, you know, when you make a messy background, it just kind of adds to the whole messy factor, which I love. And I've got some of the navy blue color thread. I've got a lighter blue, a couple different shades of blue. Adding some there at the bottom, a little bit up at the top. I had to really work with the chunk at the top. It didn't want to lay the way I wanted it to, so I had to kind of work with it, but it works out in the end. I'm going to use these light blue puffy alphas. I think those are from Super Cool. And, you know, at this point, where's my title going to go? That's another thing I was thinking about. I wasn't thinking about a title in the beginning. So I thought about using that love that I fussy cut out as a title, but I wanted something more specific. And so we were in Aruba, and I'm going to just place the letters spelling Aruba right underneath the bottom picture there. And they do kind of blend in, but that's okay. I wanted it to be kind of subtle. You know, I don't really have a lot of space left for a big title, and definitely not a long title. So we're just going to go with a one-word title, and it's going to go right there, and it's going to be very subtle. So I took a break, and when I came back and looked at the page, I felt like it needed more pops of that sky blue color, that bright aqua. So even though everything is glued down at this point, I'm just going to use my brush and the sky blue color and just sort of dab it in a couple spots around everything. And I feel like this adds a lot of depth, and it makes a big difference in the end. I feel like it was just full of the same shades of blue, and I felt like it needed a pop of a different color, and so that's what we're gonna do here. I feel like it's got enough darker shades, so I wanted to kind of give it that Caribbean color. You know, the water in the Caribbean is that gorgeous aqua color, and I think that's just what it needed in a couple spots. So I'm gonna add it around everything, and then a little bit at the bottom. and a little bit at the top. And I'm just gonna kind of dab it in, use my finger to kind of smudge it around a little bit and kind of fade it out with a little bit of water and see how that looks. And it's so interesting how I never realize how much of something that a layout needs until I add it in, and I'm like, wow, that makes such a difference. And I feel like that was the case in this layout, adding in that color. I think it makes a big difference in the end. So I wanted to add a little bit something to the tag because, you know, they had the little holes on the end of the tag, and I felt like it needed to look finished. And so I pulled out some cord from my stash and just kind of looped it through and tied it and made a bow. I'm terrible at tying bows, by the way, but I felt like the tag needed something, and so that's what's going to go there. And I'm going to trim some of the length off of that bow. I added some of the aqua thread that I had over there to the left, kind of underneath those two little cameras that are overlapping each other. And then I'm going to glue down everything that's not glued down. Have I glued things down? I said that things were glued down. I said that, didn't I? You know what? They weren't glued down. Ha! I could have taken all that off and added that aqua. I thought things were glued down. Yep, they are now. Oops. Sometimes, apparently, I tell lies in scrapbooking. Anyway, things are glued down now. Now I'm going to work on my little journaling piece there. And yeah, I didn't really have a lot of space left for journaling, so I'm going to use that little label there. And then this, I think, makes such a big difference. These are the coolest little things. You can get these in the Pinkfresh Studio store. They are Essentials Jewels. It's called the Jewels Mix. And there's also another set called the Crystals. And they're like teeny tiny little shimmery rhinestone bling. And so I added those all over the place. And they're all different shades of blue. There's 3 different shades of blue in there. And wait till you see these up close. They're so shiny and they reflect all different kinds of colors. And they just remind me of splashes of water. And so I thought, oh my gosh, that is what I need for this layout. They're really, really pretty, and they come in 3 different sizes, and you'll be able to see them up close here in the pictures. But yeah, they're really, really cool. Highly, highly recommend those if you are into, you know, shimmery bling type things. Last thing I'm going to do here is add some splatters again with all the blues that I used, and then that's it. That's the final layout. I think you can definitely see the title there, even though it still kind of blends in. But I love all these shades of blue. I think this turned out really, really cool, and I successfully did a monochromatic layout. I attempt to do that all the time, and then, you know, I wind up using all the other colors. There are the jewels. Look how cute. Oh, I couldn't say it. How cute those are. I love those. But yeah, here are all the blue things. Again, I combined super cool, noteworthy, and my favorite story, and just kind of picked out all the blue things. And I would love to do this again with another color because they've all got yellow. I think they all have green. It would be pretty cool to do that. But anyway, let me know if you have any questions about any of the products or techniques or anything that I might have left out. I hope you guys enjoyed this, and I will see you in my next video. Thank you so much for watching.